Hey guys, I promised you this review a long time ago, but finally got around to making it, so here it is. This is the Kershaw Skyline flipper knife. Okay, I'll use my Gaunt round. Look how big it is. I'll use it as my pointer today, so you won't just see me pointing with my fingers. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's start. This knife is made by Kershaw. It's all US made, so for those of you that like stuff made in the United States, that's good news. First of all, let's talk about the blade steel. The blade steel is called Sandvik 13C26 stainless steel. Okay, and a lot of you may not know or may not have heard a lot of things about Sandvik, but they are a Swedish company, and they specialize in tools and materials. And the steel that's used in this knife, let me open it up here. The steel that's used in this knife is not, you know, a super steel by any means, but it is good. It's a martenist. Let's pronounce this correctly. It's a martensitic. It's a martensitic steel, which means that it's not as corrosion resistant because of a relative high carbon content in the blade. I say relative because it could be from anywhere from 0.5 to 2%. So it's a pretty broad scale. But you know, the carbon makes the steel a lot stronger as opposed to low carbon steels, like maybe like 420 or 440 stainless steel. One thing to note is that the steel ore that's found in Sweden is very pure, and it creates steel with a very fine grain, and and even. It's a fine and even grain, and that makes it more unlikely to chip when you're doing cutting tasks. So that's a good thing. There's several good countries with good steel, namely Spain has very good steel, Germany has very good steel, and apparently Sweden has really good steel. Certain countries have very bad steel, such as Japan. Their steel is very low quality. That's why they make samurai knives. You know, because they go through all the folding and all that processing because they have low quality steel that's, you know, weak. And that's why they've developed all those techniques over the years. From what I heard in the forums, this steel is pretty decent. You can actually put a very fine edge on it, but as far as strength goes, it's not as good as you know, obviously S30V and some other CPM 154, those kinds of steels. But it does take a nice edge. And what I really like about this blade is the finish on the knife here. It's a stone washed finish, which you know, because well, you know what, I'm not really using the pointer. I just kind of want to show you guys this thing. It's a 7.62 by 54 R. R means rimmed. This thing is humongous. Look at that, round. Okay, I'm gonna take it out now. The stone wash finish is nice because it doesn't leave fingerprints. See, I could touch it all I want. It doesn't leave a fingerprint, and the surface is not completely smooth. So when you oil up this blade, it will actually hold some of the oil on the surface instead of wiping off easily. So that's a good thing about the finish. This blade shape. I like this blade shape. It's kind of a spear point, hollow ground spear point. Obviously, you see that the edge where the hollow grind starts here. So relatively high up on the blade. Doesn't start at the very top, or you know, like a flat grind, but it starts up relatively high. I don't like knives where the grind starts very low, because the more you sharpen them, the steeper your blade angle is going to be, the less sharp it is. So I like how it's a little bit higher up. Okay, let's talk about the size of this knife. The size of the knife is just right for my hands, and I have kind of small hands. So maybe for you it might be a little small, but seems to be okay. It has this tail right here, which you see it's too long for me, but I think most people's hands can fit easily within the handle of this blade. So, and it's got a very nice feel to it. I'll talk about that later. Okay, yeah, like I said, this is not a huge folder like the Spyderco Military, but it's not too small where it'll be hard to use, like some smaller knives are. And it's very light. This is, if you can believe it, this knife is only 2.3 ounces. So because it's got these G10 handles and it doesn't have a steel liner inside, so that makes this very, very light. Deployment. The deployment on this knife is super fast. I oiled up the bearing with some Tough Glide, so it's even faster, but it's just super quick. You gotta give it a little bit of a flick there. It's kind of hard for me to do because I gotta hold my hand in front of the camera, but it's a very, very fast deployment. I would say it's on par with any automatic knife out there, except you gotta do a little bit more work. You don't just press a button. So, but it's on par. The speed itself. I almost prefer this to an automatic knife because you don't have that button there, and you don't need a safety. You can just pull this out and just get it out, get the blade out. So that's good. I really like the deployment on this. I wish there were more knives made by Kershaw or any other company that had this kind of deployment, this kind of flipper. Sometimes this does get in the way though, this little hump right here. Sometimes you hit it a little bit and it kind of brings out the knife halfway, but it actually locks up pretty tight once it's closed. See, if I just hit it, it won't flip, but it actually takes a little bit of force, like you really got to push on it for it to come out. So in my experience it's fine. When I've been carrying it hasn't had any problems yet. And the lockup is really tight on this knife. I mean, there's no flex up and down. I thought there would be because it does deploy so fast. Usually knives, I've noticed that deploy really fast has a loose, the bushing's loose, or the binding's loose. But this is actually really tight. There's some space there, as you can see, between the blade and the those G10 liners, and it has these kind of bronze colored washers there. I don't know exactly. I don't know too much about knife washers, but I think they're like phosphor or something like that. But they're slick enough, so that's all I care about. Copper, phosphorus, something like that. Uses for this knife. This is primarily my EDC knife when I'm not at work. When I'm wearing jeans and stuff, I just slip this into my pocket. It's going to be a little bit too big to EDC when working because I work at a professional job. Don't really think they'd be happy about me carrying pocket knives around. It's so cheap that you don't have to worry about getting it banged up. This one costs $30 from KnifeCenter.com, and that's cheap enough where I can carry it around with me every day. Put it in my jeans. I've scratched this pocket clip many times against walls and stuff, and I don't really care. $30, and it's small enough for most EDC uses. Well, this is end of part 1. Part 2 in a second.